Hey guys, it's Ashley here at Utah Trikes again, and today I'm riding with Jan, who's our team lead and QA service lead. We're gonna be riding two of our fastest trikes. Last time I rode with Davey, and we did the CarbonTrike CT2.0 versus the Ice VTX. And today we're gonna ride the Catrike 700 and the CarbonTrike CT2.0. Now, what's interesting here is we've got two racing trikes, and these are quite different trikes. So the Catrike, it's got a mesh seat here. It's an all aluminum frame. It's got 30-speed gearing on it. The CarbonTrike is a carbon frame, and it's got 20 speeds on it. We're gonna see how these feel different and how they handle and the comfort. Now, it's not exactly a fair comparison because the Catrike is substantially less expensive than the CarbonTrike. And so we'll have all the details and all the specs on this. And let's get going. We're gonna do our loop. We're gonna go around our hill, and we're gonna get Jan's opinion on both trikes and my opinion on both trikes. Let's go. Ready?
Let's go ride.
All right. All right, once again, we're gonna have Garrett in the lead. He's got our film quad, and he'll be filming us, and Jan and I will be following him or passing him. We'll see what happens. I've got the Shimano SPD sandals on, and you've got some different pedals than me.
Yeah, I got the Look system.
Okay, the Look system. So that's one thing, guys. When we finally swap trikes, we're gonna end up swapping pedals on these, so we can each try them out being clipped in. So last time when I rode this with Davey, I did ride the CarbonTrike, and I started off on the VTX, which I know is one of your favorite trikes, right? The VTX?
Yeah, I love the VTX.
Yeah. So I know you're a big ice guy. You've got an ice adventure, which we talked about on one of our videos.
Yep.
This time, you know, we're on the Catrike, and I know we've both ridden a lot of Catrikes. I've been riding Catrikes for about 20 years, and I've had quite a few 700s. You know, I'm already kind of feeling I've got this harder carbon fiber hard seat here, you know.
Yep.
And I'm on the smooth part of the road.
Do you feel the vibration?
I'm definitely feeling the road vibrations a little bit. Now, one thing that was interesting was when Davey and I were riding, and we were riding the CarbonTrike and then also the VTX with the carbon seat, I could actually hear in my voice the vibrations from the road. Yeah. Like, I didn't know at the time, but when I played back the video, I could hear that like warble in my voice.
Yeah, personally, I've never been a big fan of aluminum for two-wheel bicycle.
Okay.
But I love it on a trike, because especially the 700 right now, I mean, I'm on the rough part of the road. You can probably hear it in my voice too. But the aluminum combined with the mesh seat that you can adjust on the tension, make it definitely more comfortable in this position. With the 700, is you laying really low, but it's really comfortable, absorbing really nicely the vibration of the road.
Yeah, so that is one of the nice features of the 700. With that mesh seat, you can adjust how tight or how firm that is.
Exactly.
By adjusting those straps.
Exactly, which for me, I'm not a big guy. I'm pretty I have small hips too. So I like to keep the bottom part a little bit looser, so you almost feel like a bucket seat.
Okay.
But I tie pretty tight the top, so I don't feel the tubing in my shoulder, and it keep it comfortable.
Yeah, that's one thing on this, on the CarbonTrike here. You know, there's really not any adjustments
Yeah.
for how it feels. Like, I suppose you could put different pads on there, but I don't know that I would really want a softer pad. You know, if you put something too soft, it might slide around a little bit.
Exactly. Sometimes, especially on, I'm assuming on this one that I rode once or twice at high speed and tight corner, I will be scared for the pad to kind of slide around if it was too soft.
Yeah, so when we were riding the other day, we got caught in the rain. And that was one thing that definitely we noticed riding on the way back, and there was a lot of rain there. I definitely was feeling like it was sliding around just a little bit more once it got wet.
Yeah, I think by adding a few Velcro on it, that would probably help hold it better.
Right.
That's another thing that's interesting with those seats.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting thing, like once we switch, you know, and it's always good, like when you want to compare trikes, you know, it's like ride one and then ride the other one.
Yep.
Because then you get that immediate impression of how's the seat, how's the handling, how's the comfort. Now, one thing on the 700 that I think is going to be, you know, going back and forth that we're both going to find is that the handling on both of these trikes, I feel like is going to be pretty similar. Both of these trikes have a pretty similar wheelbase. They're about the same width, although I think the CarbonTrike's a little narrower, and they both have a pretty steep caster angle. So they both want to go straight.
Yeah.
Like the faster you go, the more straight they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, definitely, I can't recall the number, but when we took the sizing, the CarbonTrike is at least 2-inch narrower.
Yeah, this is 27 inches wide.
Okay, so
Yeah.
about 2-inch narrower than the 700. But, I mean, I don't have as much experience with the 700. I feel like I rode the CarbonTrike more the last few days because, you know, it's new, it's excited. You want to go test ride it. I didn't do any long distance, but one thing I was amazed for something that narrow is the cornering is really nice. I didn't feel like the trike wanted to roll on the side on me. Not that I felt it anytime with the 700, but that was one of my worries, and I'm pretty impressed with the cornering still.
So one thing that is going to become apparent, or maybe not, let's find out, you know, is the CarbonTrike, just like the Ice VTX, has under-seat indirect steering.
Yep.
And the Catrike, like all of the Catrike models, uses direct steering. Yep. So the steering's gonna feel a little different. So now we're climbing. So, you know, now we really want to feel that, you know, how's it feel to climb?
You're gonna pass the straight track. There we go. Yeah, and one of the advantage I definitely have over you on climb is I'm on the triple in the front, you're on the compact double. So if I remember well, you get a 34. My smallest one is 22, I think, or 24, which give me a slight advantage, but you got this nice 42 in the back, which is gonna help when I'm stuck with a 36. So at the end of the day, I don't have the number in my head, but I bet we're about the same, close to the same ratio going up.
Yeah, I think that the Catrike is definitely gonna have a little bit wider of a gear range. And this is a decent hill, but I don't think that we're so steep that you're even gonna need to drop in your low ring.
I was wondering, and now we're climbing it. I'm like, I don't really need this.
Right.
I think I have, I even have one gear left. Little bit of kick, my bad, I'm the one who adjusted the trike. So one thing also really cool about the CarbonTrike is that they put barrel adjuster right at the exit of the shifter, so you can adjust your derailleur
on the fly. Yeah.
I really like that.
All right, so just let the guys know how you're feeling about the 700.
Okay. Yeah, so far, it's climbing really nice. I really like the gear ratio. I'm on the mid chainring. I'm about 3/4 up on the cassette. I have a little bit out of breath, but I'm also out of shape. I didn't do good on my winter training. But so, it's climbing pretty nice. Not feeling like I had to push too hard. So, I'd be curious to see the difference with the CarbonTrike and see if more rigidity help the transfer of power better. So let's drop a few gear and accelerate a little bit and let's see what that does. That's actually really responsive. Yeah, that's really enjoyable. The position is nice. My chest is open, I can breathe nicely. And now we're heading going down. The seat feels great. You're really kind of in there when you're pushing on those pedals, which is kind of important because compared to a two-wheel bicycle, when you're pushing hard, you're at the same time kind of pushing your body back. So the seat has to be nice and holding you firm to not lose any power. Yeah, you wanna go faster?
Let's go.
All right, let's do this big chainring and start pushing harder. Woo! I'm pushing too hard. I might have to set up my pedal a little bit to spring on a higher tension. Okay, we're gonna turn right. I'm going too fast for you. Yep. I gotta readjust my tension on the spring. Both of my feet at some point popped out when I was pulling.
Yeah, the one thing I like about the SPD setup is that pretty much every single trike manufacturer uses it.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy just to get on any trike and try it out.
Yeah, definitely. My thing is most of my bicycles are Italian or French, so I end up having a lot of French pedals that use this system.
Uh-huh.
And so that's my next buy. I need a pair of shoes for my trike to be able to run those SPDs. So far, I run them with a platform pedal, but it's obviously not the best when you start getting speed.
Right.
It's nice low speed touring.
So how'd you feel about the handling there?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, right?
It's definitely something that I feel more comfortable with at high speed because the steering feels more rigid. So compared to the CarbonTrike and the VTX, the steering is amazing at low speed because really easy. But at high speed, it can get a little scary.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like, you know, the CarbonTrike at high speed, it just kind of locks in.
Yeah.
Like it wants to go straight. And when you turn, you really have to be deliberate. That's how I've always felt like the Catrikes are as well. You know, with the 700, you really have to be deliberate when you're turning at high speed.
Yeah, and you don't feel as much vibration in the steering either.
So yeah, even though the the CarbonTrike tends to absorb a lot of the vibration, I still find that the handlebars I still do feel some of that vibration coming through there. Like right now, when we were just coming over that rough spot,
Yeah.
you know, I was feeling that. I don't think that it's enough that you notice it unless you're really paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But
maybe in the long run, like
yeah,
if you ride on a long distance.
right.
But and I don't know if this one has a damper integrated.
No, it
I
doesn't. I don't think
so.
it needs that though.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, let's so we're gonna swap pedals here, guys, and we'll swap trikes.
Let's grab the tubes. All right.
So we only brought one wrench with us, so we'll have to take turns here. But we're gonna swap the pedals, and then Jan will get to try climbing and then the high-speed descent with the CarbonTrike. And then I'm gonna go on the 700 here, and we'll be able to compare our experiences. So one thing, Jan, you've got on the 700 here, you've got these nice wrist supports.
Yep.
And
which is really comfortable.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think I'm just noticing, like as I was paying attention to that road vibration a little bit, was I didn't really have a place to just rest my hands. You know, unless I rest them on the top of the grip, but I've still got to kind of be holding on, where I feel like with the 700, you can just let your wrists sit a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I remember, I don't think we talked about it when we did the video with Chandler, but one thing that I noticed is that the wrist rest on this model will be really nice.
Yeah.
Make it more comfortable. And I feel like almost gives you more control too, because your hand kind of have a support and don't move as much.
Right. Yeah, and you could definitely put wrist rest on there. I mean, they're a 7/8" tube, so variety of different wrist rests. I think the ice wrist rest, the Catrike wrist rest, even the HP wrist rest would all fit on there. So now these trikes do have the same tires on them. They're the Schwalbe 1. We got 20-inch tires in the front, and we've got the 700 in the back. And the gear range is a little bit different, like we talked about as we were climbing that hill. The 700 has got a triple ring up front, but then it's got an 11 to 36 in the back. So it's got 30-speed gearing, and the CarbonTrike has the 20-speed with what's that, a 42 in the back?
42 in the back,
yeah.
And you can upgrade to a 46.
Yeah, so you know, it's still got a monster low gear, but the Catrike low gear is going to be a little bit lower. But as Jan figured out climbing up the hill there, he didn't even need that lowest chainring up front. Now, both trikes are set up with bar and shifters, so the feel is going to be very similar.
All right. Okay, and hopefully this time I don't unclip like earlier.
So now one thing I'm feeling right off the bat, and I'm sure you'll notice too, the 700 has a much higher bottom bracket height compared to the seat. I mean, even just looking at them here, you can see that this bottom bracket, my cranks here, are probably 4 inches higher. So,
definitely.
You know, so my feet right now, like when my foot's at the highest position, my leg's almost horizontal out from me, you know, where you're a lot lower.
Yep.
So the difference there is that you're going to be pushing with different muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, and I can already feel this mesh seat is definitely I think, more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm missing jumping literally from one to the other. I'm missing support on my shoulder here. I already feel it, and the fact that I don't have those wrist rests, my whole side body feels like it want to fall. Right off on both sides. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought too. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm definitely feeling like I've instantly got more upper back and shoulder support.
Yep.
Like as soon as I sit down on here, I'm like, oh yeah, that's nice. So yeah, let's see how well they climb. So we'll let Garrett here get in front of us, and we'll try climbing. So now one thing, the 700 does have this rear disc brake, which is for, you know, a parking brake, really. Yep. Yeah, so.
You can kind of use it as a drag brake.
Yeah, if you were going down a really steep hill, you could, yeah. Yeah, so I'm definitely feeling different here.
Yeah, it's literally night and the position with the seat, that's night and day. That's different.
It really is, right? Yeah, like I'm definitely feeling the difference of the seat position.
Yep.
And like my ability to push, I feel like is more in my lower back and my legs, where I feel like on the CarbonTrike, it's more channeled all the way up to your upper back.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. You're kind of leaning more on the CarbonTrike.
So now I do feel like the CarbonTrike's a bit better of a climber.
It feels easier.
It does, right?
Yep. Let's see how many gear I have left. So yeah, I'm definitely one gear higher on the climb than the 700.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll take the lead here.
Yep. I'll follow you.
Okay. Getting back on the 700 here, definitely more comfortable, guys. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I definitely noticed was it takes, gotta catch my breath. Yeah, I definitely feel like it takes a lot more energy to climb with the 700 than it does with the CarbonTrike. So one thing that you notice right away when you switch between the CarbonTrike and the 700 is that CarbonTrike is a hill-eating machine. I felt like I had a lot easier time climbing with the CarbonTrike. You know, the 700, I really like the fact that it feels like I'm in a cockpit, more like I'm in the trike rather than just sitting on the trike. That's kind of an interesting feeling. And the, you know, I do like the wrist rest here. These handlebars are extremely comfortable. All right, let's go. Okay. Oh.
All right. Okay. Well, it's interesting because I feel like this one is going faster, but I feel safer on the 700.
Really?
Yeah, because of And it's not a question of the trike being unsafe. The trike is perfectly safe. I'm actually amazed with the indirect steering at high speed.
Right.
But the seat, I just don't feel secure in the seat.
Okay.
Like the 700, which makes sense. The 700 is a mesh seat. I used to do some rally car racing. When you're in a bucket seat, no matter what the speed, you don't move. So you feel like you're one with the trike.
Right.
This one, love it. I just wish I will feel a little bit more one with it and not kind of feeling like I'm moving too much on the seat, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. When we were climbing up the hill, or as we got around the hill and we were on the crest, that's where I really noticed one of the big differences, I feel like, with the 700 is that I'm sitting in the trike.
Exactly.
Like I actually do feel like I have a cockpit area here, and I've, you know, my handlebars are kind of around me, the seats around me. Part of that is the fact that the bottom bracket is higher.
Yep.
So like I feel like I'm inside of the trike, where on the CarbonTrike, I feel like I'm on the trike.
Exactly.
So you definitely get a little bit of that feeling with the CarbonTrike. You have to be more deliberate, like when you're turning, to stay on the trike.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Like turning with the Catrike at high speed, you don't feel your body is moving outside the trike.
Right.
The trike. It's in there. You can almost feel like also, like on a two-wheel bicycle, that you can actually move the trike with your own body. You know, it's kind of one piece. This one is just that you slide a little bit. And one more time, for someone skinnier, it might work better. I think having some little wings on the side of the seat will help to kind of hold you in a better position. And one thing I thought since the first second I saw this CarbonTrike, my first thought was, wow, I want to try this thing on the track, like on a velodrome.
Right.
And after riding it on the road, it's a fast trike, but I still have a strong belief that where this thing really gonna shine is if you bring it on the track.
All right, guys, we're gonna stop here. We got this little scenic area with some horses right behind us. Kind of talk about our experiences riding each of these trikes. Now, I think that the best experience that you can have if you're choosing one of these trikes is going to be to ride both of them and to try to ride both of them one after another, because then you really get that feeling of what the differences are, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, these are both fantastic trikes. You know, I would choose either one of them and be happy. I think the differences in these trikes, though, are definitely apparent, right? Even on this small loop that we just did.
Yep.
The first difference that we've already been talking about a little bit is going to be that comfort. So how did you feel riding, like when you were riding this initially and you were on some of the rougher ground compared to like riding on the CarbonTrike with some of the rougher ground?
Definitely more comfortable.
Okay.
And I would say also a little bit more control with the direct steering.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel like a few times I will like adjust my mirror or something, and with this one, don't feel anything really moving. With this one, a little bit more movement, nothing scary, but I definitely like comfort-wise the 700 a little bit better.
Okay. And I get what you're feeling there, that this direct steering, it definitely has a stronger self-centering characteristic. Like if you let go of the handlebars, it almost just wants to point straight.
Yeah.
And the CarbonTrike does that too, but I think the Catrike's a little bit stronger of that feeling. That handling, that safety, you know, you're leaning more towards the 700 then.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, and I would say comfort-wise, 100%. You know, I mean, riding on a hard shell seat, like on the Ice VTX versus the CarbonTrike, I felt like the CarbonTrike was more comfortable, but it's a whole other scale. Like when you go to a mesh seat with the 700 here, I mean, this is so much more comfortable.
Yes,
and that's
definitely.
really, that's why people choose the mesh seats, right? If you're thinking of comfort, that's what you want.
You can really tune it up to your own need.
Right.
Yeah.
So the big thing though, and this is what people want to know. The big thing is going to come down to, speed.
Yep.
Because these are racing trikes. Like the person that buys this trike is because they want to go fast. The typical customer that comes to us and they say, hey, I've been riding, I ride for years with my cycling buddies. We all are wearing spandex and we're all going 18, 20 miles an hour. Will this trike keep up? This is what's interesting here is, we're looking at very similar specs. We're looking at similar rolling speeds with the same tires. Which trike do you feel is the faster trike?
So to my opinion, and that's gonna be a little bit confusing, but on what I will say to break records and short distance, to me it's the CarbonTrike.
Okay.
Now, if we're talking about doing 24 hours world record, long distance, fast touring, I will go with the 700.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I'm right there with you. I will say this, climbing that hill there, the CarbonTrike, I almost feel like it's no work.
Yep.
Like it's almost like I'm walking up the hill. Like that's how I feel with it. Like that, my leg motion is just directly pushing me up that hill.
Yeah, the power transfer is really good.
And I have to say, I've ridden just about every trike out there, and I feel like the CarbonTrike is probably the best climber that I have ridden. I mean, it just climbs. And that was immediately apparent to me, especially since we switched and then we immediately climbed a hill.
Yep.
Where I felt like the 700 took a lot more energy for me to get up that hill than it did with the CarbonTrike. So as far as which one's the faster trike, I think it depends. It depends on if you have a lot of hill climbing, then the CarbonTrike's probably gonna give you a little bit of an edge.
Yep.
The 700 though, the comfort of it, and I'll say this because, I'm a little biased because I've had a 700 for years. I've put thousands of miles on my 700, and the 700 is a trike that I feel like I can ride all day long. And I just ride it. And when I'm going on a hill, normally I just gear down and you just go up the hill,
Yeah, you just keep on spinning.
Yeah, and if you're riding like in a race or you're doing a century ride, it's a little bit different. You're going to put more effort into it. And that's where I think the CarbonTrike, I would probably choose the CarbonTrike. Like if I'm riding, on a century ride or a one-day race, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just want whatever trike's gonna ride the fastest.
Exactly.
And I'm probably gonna choose the CarbonTrike. But for every day, like if I'm commuting every day or I'm riding on a multi-day ride, I'm probably gonna go for the 700.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's definitely how I feel. And like I was saying earlier too, if you're telling me right now, let's go ride on a velodrome, I'd definitely be super excited to have this CarbonTrike on the velodrome.
Yeah.
Because I got the feeling this thing's definitely is gonna break record. Yeah.
Well, and this CarbonTrike is fast.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
Fast.
Yeah.
It's lightweight, and it's a race trike. And I would say on a technical basis, it's going to be the faster, more competitive trike than the 700, where I think the 700 is going to be the better everyday race car.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is going to be the Formula F1 race car, where this is going to be the speedy Corvette that I'm going to ride every day.
Exactly.
And this one I'm going to take on the racetrack. So there you go, guys. That's kind of our ride here in review, talking about these trikes and, which one's best for you. It really is going to depend on what kind of riding you want to do. You know, and another big thing is going to be budget. You know,
Yes.
this CarbonTrike does cost a couple $1,000s more than the Catrike. So I think Catrike, you get an excellent bang for your buck. But if you're less concerned with that and you just want the raw speed, and maybe you already have a 700 or another trike in your stable, you know, I would definitely recommend considering adding a CarbonTrike, you know, for those high-speed weekend rides. Well, let's head back. We'll let Garrett get ahead of us again and get back to the shot. So now one of my favorite features though, Jan, of the CarbonTrike is that under seat storage bin.
Definitely.
I mean, honestly, like I almost feel like I would choose the CarbonTrike maybe even just for that.
Yeah, no, because you can pack a rain jacket, nutrition, you can have hydration, toolkit, everything in there, and that's super cool.
So the 700 does have, you know, it does have the pouches on the back of the seat.
Yep.
So I do have on the back of the 700 here, there's a pump pouch. And then there's another pouch on the side. You know, if I was gonna have like a water bladder or whatever, I would have to find a way to strap that on. Where with the CarbonTrike, there's actually a hole right on the side of the frame.
And you can buy their
the bladder.
So it's actually, last time I made a mistake, I said a gallon, it's a half gallon.
Yeah, half-gallon bladder.
Plenty of water for a racing truck.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The other thing I noticed, because I looked at it, when did you ride with the VTX? 2 days ago, maybe?
Yeah, about a week ago.
One thing I really like is there's actually a draining hole in the compartment, because you came back, the track was drained and there was some water everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So there's actually a draining hole. So even if you ride in the rain, the water doesn't get stuck in this little compartment. Is for some reason.
Right.
You know.
So now component spec wise, we didn't really talk about that. The Catrike has the Avid BB7 brakes.
Yep.
Which are the industry standard.
Yep. Some of the best mechanical brake on the market.
Yeah. And the CarbonTrike has the hydraulic Tektro brakes.
Yep. Surprisingly, that is the first trike that I enjoy hydraulic brake on. And I think it's because in my head, you know, I'm a big dreamer and I dream bikes and trike a certain way. And this look it's beautiful. And having the carbon with those hydraulic brake, it gives you this feel like you were saying earlier of Formula One.
Right.
Which I love also. And even if you're not a speedy guy, it want to make you go fast. So those brakes give you a feeling that you can stop the trike. It's solid.
Yeah, I really like the feel of those Tektro hydraulic brakes.
Yep.
I mean, they just have excellent modulation and just the feel of them. Although I really also like these same, you know, the Catrike brake levers.
Yep.
They feel very similar. So it looks like we're gonna miss the train this time. So last time we got stuck behind two different trains and in the rain. So it looks like we're just missing it. So that's great. So, good luck for us.
Another thing I wanted to point out, which is related with the brake, is the whole steering. So I try to remember how they call this part. Is that the kingpin?
Yeah, the kingpin or the spindle.
The spindle. So those are carbon.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried to have carbon with hydraulic disc brake. And actually they did a great job, because I don't feel any flex in the steering or in those
the head, yeah, and the head tubes
when I'm braking.
Right.
So that is great too.
Yeah, now it is interesting. The CarbonTrike does have these little stabilizer O-rings.
Yep.
That go in between the kingpin and the tie rods there.
Yep, which help probably with vibration and kind of stiffen up a little bit the steering.
Yeah, it would be interesting at some point to, you know, ride one without it and one with it to see, you know, what the feeling there is, because that's kind of a unique feature that I haven't seen on other trikes.
Yeah, me neither. That's the first time I see that. But yeah, no, on those two trike, they're both in their stock configuration, which is pretty great. But obviously, those trike can be even probably faster and lighter
Sure.
if you let us at Utah Trike do some little tweaking for you.
Yeah, I think we talked about like you could go with a hollow pin chain.
Yeah.
Go with our carbon fiber wheels.
Yeah.
And I think we figured like if you went all at it, you could probably shave off another 2.5
Oh yeah.
pounds.
And one thing that I will love to see happening more in our industry is starting to get this Bluetooth shifting on trike.
Oh, okay.
Which is another amazing thing. Gives you large gear range, easy, no cable, which cut on the weight also.
Yeah.
I know that's my racing side talking. Like what cool thing can we do to get those trikes to be at the top of the top?
Right. All right, guys. Well, here we are. We are back at our home base and we're going to pull in, and that concludes today's exciting episode. So we hope that you enjoyed this.
Yeah, so hopefully you like the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, ride fast, relax, and spin fast.
I think it's relax,
Relax?
spin fast, and right.
Well, we're on a racing trike.
Yeah,
Everything's got to
yeah.
be fast, right?
Yeah. I think relax is the first thing.
Relax? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so let's reiterate.
Relax
Spin fast.
and ride trikes. All right, we'll see you guys.
See ya.
I will say this, it didn't really come up because we didn't really do any slow speed maneuvering there, but the 700 is way more maneuverable.
Oh, yeah.
Like just even right now, just being able to pull in quick